Thanks very much. What a wonderful introduction, and it's marvellous to be here in this wonderful city and this absolutely stunning new museum. I'm going to talk this afternoon about the project that John Wilson and Rachel Vorberg and I have been working on over the last 3 years. Very, very exciting. You don't really need me to tell you that these are very, very exciting times for the Co-op generally. After a long period of decline and troubles, finally things are turning better. What's the project about? Well, the aim is to produce the first major business history of the English CWS and the Cooperative Group to coincide with CWS's 150th anniversary next year. Well, it's been quite a journey, this research programme, writing this book. The group has given us access to virtually all of its records. And we've been looking through the papers of the group going right the way back to 1863. You can actually trace the development of the organisation into becoming a worldwide body. So what have we found? What have we found so far? CWS and its member societies historically had a bad and difficult relationship almost from the very start. It jumps off the page of the records at you. Now, there is this real myth about the Cooperative Group and the CWS. And the myth basically goes like this. It's an old-fashioned organisation full of people who aren't very creative or imaginative, people who bury their head in the sands, who aren't prepared to change. And that, if you actually took a look at what people were writing about the cooperatives back in the 1980s and 90s, is roughly what they said about it. It is rubbish. Because the cooperative movement has cruelly been labelled as being old-fashioned, lacking in talent, and we just simply don't think that the historical record bears that out. What is becoming clear from our research is that by the end of the 19th century, the CWS was probably one of the most advanced and sophisticated multinational organisations in Britain. At a time when it was very, very rare for people to train managers, the CWS was streets ahead in bringing on and developing people to run major international businesses. So what about this period after the Second World War when things start to go wrong? And one of the key questions is, why does that happen? In the 50s, what they're saying is that, well, actually, we have to deal with about 1,000 societies. If we only had to deal with, say, about 100 societies, it would get a lot easier. What we want is to persuade societies to amalgamate it, and then they'll be easier to work with. Actually, what happens is that when societies do amalgamate, they get bigger, and they become much, much bigger in terms of their boots. So, cooperation's strong democratic roots, in a sense, is one of the reasons why it loses ground. And in a way, what has to happen is that there has to be a rethinking through and a reorganisation of the movement before it can start to revive. It's almost as though the movement had to shrink before it could get into a situation where it could recover very, very quickly. One of the things that's fascinating to us is that the recovery was, to a large extent, not just about adopting new structures and new commercial practices. It was about breathing life back into those fundamental principles. That's what gave it, if you like, impetus, and it started to win back members. Of course, it raises all kinds of interesting questions about how this will work out in the future. And to conclude, all I can say is that it is extremely exciting to be part of it. Thank you very much.